All right. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Yelena Subasic with Massey Consulting. Sorry we're running a few minutes late. We're just trying to get the screen or the presentation on the screen, and we'll give it a few more minutes or a couple seconds just to let the rest of the attendees trickle in, and then we'll get started. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and get started. Again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. This session will be recorded and the slides will be sent out to everybody. And I will go ahead and pass this on to Philip. And before he gets started, just keep in mind that if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat box that should be on the right side of your screen. All right, Philip, if you want to go ahead and get started.
All right, thank you, Yelena. So welcome, everyone. I do appreciate your time today. I know everybody is busy, and it's great for you to take time out of your day, and I love seeing a good crowd like we have here today, so thank you. Before we get started, one thing that I want to just point out is that in your GoToWebinar control panel, you do have choices for entering in chat questions as well as questions. So either one of those you want to use at any point during this presentation. If you have a question for us, if you want to see something else, especially as we get into the demonstration portion, if you want to see something else, then please don't hesitate to let us know, and we'll be happy to repeat or delve into more information on something as best we can if need be. All right. So with that, again, thank you. What we're going to take a look at today is our integration product that will synchronize ConnectWise, the professional service solution, with your ERP system. We call that solution mConnect. A little bit of a play on the M in Massey and Connect in ConnectWise. So we put those two together to come up with that name. So to get started, first of all, let me tell you a little bit about Massey Consulting. Just going to take a minute or two here, get you familiar with us, because if you don't know us, then you're probably wondering why we're talking about this. Massey Consulting, first and foremost, we're accounting software resellers, and we have two products that we work with, Sage Intacct and Microsoft Dynamics GP. Both of those are the products that we're going to concentrate on for this presentation. So we were founded in 2002 in Raleigh, North Carolina. So we've been doing this for 16 years, and I worked in the accounting software industry prior to that as well. So 20 plus years experience. We are comprised of CPAs, accountants, and implementation and IT experts. So we know the financial aspects, we know the technical aspects. So we're well versed in REST API integrations. We're well versed in development. We're well versed in financial statements, balance sheets, income statements, accounts payable, all of those good things that accountants should be. We've been a Sage Intacct Premier Partner since 2013. We made Sage Intacct President's Club in 2014, 15, 17, and just recently in 2018. In fact, just got back from a wonderful President's Club trip. We are also a gold partner for Microsoft Dynamics GP. So we are, again, well versed in both products, Sage Intacct and Microsoft Dynamics GP. Ranked among the top 300 small businesses in the Southeast, and we offer multiple add-on solutions and integrations for your ERP system of choice. Okay? So what we're going to do today, you're going to learn about mConnect. What is it? You're going to learn a little bit about Sage Intacct and Dynamics GP, just a smidgen, so that this isn't too much of an ERP sales call. keeping your invoices up to date by automating the collection process, customizations that fit your business needs and integrate only the records that you want. And that's one of the real big keys about our integration, is that it is fully customizable. You may be sitting there thinking, well, ConnectWise has an integration to Dynamics GP. Why would we not just use that? And my answer to you is it is not customizable. Ours is 100% customizable. So if you have some specific needs that you need to accomplish, you may not get that done with theirs. You'll learn how mConnect automatically synchronizes customers, vendors, and products. And you'll learn the process of importing sales invoices, procurement, and expense reports automatically through mConnect. And that's another big difference between ours and any of the ones that ConnectWise offers, is that ours is done automatically. There's no more batching processes needed manually. We can batch it for you, or we can disregard the batch concept altogether. But the more important thing is it's automatic, right? Nothing needs to be done on your part. It just happens. You do your work and you let the system work for you. So mConnect, what is it? With mConnect, you can easily synchronize information between Microsoft Dynamics or Sage Intacct and ConnectWise PSA in real time or on a schedule. That is an important delimiter. Right now, we work with the Microsoft Dynamics product line and we work with Sage Intacct. We are in the process of looking at other solutions potentially, but we want to make sure that what we have currently with these two products is very robust, very well thought out, and gives users a lot of options within those product lines. As I'd said before, the two things that really make our integration different is that it is automated and it is highly customizable. So it fits the unique needs of your business. It's a very powerful solution, gives you a lot of information and tools at your fingertips that you need to build a better, stronger business with more profitable relationships. So we tailor our integration to work for you. You don't tailor your environment to work for an integration that's substandard. So you must be using ConnectWise and you must be using Sage Intacct or Dynamics GP. So why did we pick Sage Intacct and why did we pick Dynamics GP? Rather than go into a big detailed spiel about either one of the products, let me tell you, some of the advantages. First of all, Dynamics GP, known commodity. It's been out since 1993, 92 or 93. So it's been around for a very long time. It's a very mature product. It has a huge following. It has a very large install base. It's got a lot of vendors that build add-on products for it. It's fantastic when you're talking about sophisticated inventory needs. Does that very well, and that does mix quite well with ConnectWise environments typically. And in fact, ConnectWise, as I mentioned earlier, has created an integration themselves so that they are endorsing the Dynamics GP solution as well. So GP is, again, been around for a long time. It's a modular-based system. You use the parts and pieces that you need. Typically, when you're talking about integrating an accounting solution with ConnectWise, you're mainly looking for things like payables, receivables, general ledger, financial statement production, some bank reconciliation, some of the more basic accounting functions, maybe a collections. But then you may want to get into some things like barcoding. And that's where our integration can come into play to allow you to more deeply integrate with something like Dynamics GP or Sage Intacct, where you have the ability then to use a barcoding solution as well. So to follow that up, Sage Intacct is a fully cloud-based solution, no servers, no hardware. All you really need is a browser. So you can run the product from your phone, you can run the product from a tablet, you can run the product from a Linux machine if you so desire. Just need a browser to be able to get to it. Sage Intacct has been around since just before the year 2000, so it's a little newer. It was originally developed as a solution for CPA firms to do their write-up for their clients. However, the firm's client needs became more sophisticated. Sage Intacct added more functionality to the system and began then to market it to end users directly. In 2011, they started a partner channel to where companies like us could work with them to help sell the solution. And they have more than tripled their customer count since starting the partner channel. So they still do direct, they do partner channel sales, but it is a fully cloud-based solution. It's got an excellent, excellent concept of dimensions inside of it that really give companies the ability to twist and turn their financial statement in ways that really no other accounting system can do. Microsoft, some of the Dynamics products like Nav and AX do have dimensions, but Sage Intacct takes that to a whole new level with what capabilities they give you. It's got built-in financial report writing, so it's not a third-party solution. It's not based in Excel or anything like that. And they just do an exceptional job of supporting the product. Plus, with Sage Intacct, you get quarterly updates to the software. So you don't have to wait a year to get the functionality that you're clamoring for. You get quarterly updates with Sage Intacct. You go home on a Friday, come back on a Monday, and you have new features. So both systems are great. Both systems are viable for many, many organizations. It's really a matter of preference for which one you think would do the best job for you. For us, we don't really care. We'll integrate with either one. It's personal preference for the company that is looking. And if you don't have either one of those products, and maybe you're on QuickBooks and you want to do something different, we'd be happy to talk to you about that as well. Okay. So let's talk about what we synchronize. And this is just the out of the box list. So customers, vendors, products or items, sales invoices, procurement, and expense reports. Now, I want to be extremely clear here. This is the out of the box list of items that we work with. So it does not mean this is all that we can do. We have access to all of the touch points in both Dynamics GP as well as Sage Intacct. So if you need to write into contracts, for example, we can do that. If you need to write special types of inventory transactions, we can do that. If you need to push data the other way from the accounting system into ConnectWise, we have a lot of capability to do that as well. So this is a sample list. We've done things, for example, like working with inventory transactions for pick, pack, and ship and coding that to work in process. We've done a lot of work for companies with work in process to help them with their larger projects. We've done work with the down payments, accepting those advances. You know, we've done a lot of different kinds of transactions in the system. We've done work with companies with revenue recognition. That is definitely a hot topic now with ASC 606 on the rise and imminent here in 2019. Doing a lot of work with that. So definitely here is a sample list, and if you've got something that you need done, please let us know, because we have full control over how this integration works. So let's talk just the basics here with a master record synchronization. And love this slide. It's got the multicolor. This is our multicolor slide here. So kind of taking our logo down there and celebrated the different colors as well. So we've got customers, vendors, items, and even members, right? And we send those members over as vendors that are going into and out of Dynamics or Sage Intacct. So push that data. As we note down at the bottom, it is now bi-directional. It is completely configurable, and it is fully automated, okay? So whether it's customers, vendors, items, members, as far as master records go, we can synchronize all that information between the two systems. Now, this is a real-time synchronization, can be a real-time synchronization. You can schedule it to run every hour, every 30 minutes. You can schedule it to be real-time. There's a lot of things that you can do with this to customize it to make it fit the way you want it, and they're independent. You don't maybe add as many vendors as you do customers. Let's make customers a real-time synchronization. Let's make vendors a daily synchronization or an hourly synchronization or twice a day synchronization. Your choice, your integration, your choice, right? So we integrate these items as master records into and out of Dynamics and Sage Intacct. And one more option here, again, being a little bit colorful on these slides. So sales and receivables integration. Now, it's important to note here that we can go into the accounting system two different ways. Both Sage Intacct and Microsoft Dynamics have the ability to import sales information into order entry or order processing modules, as well as into accounts receivable. So it's your choice as an end customer which way you want to go. Order entry or order processing will give you full details, all the line items. You'll get to see everything inside of your accounting system that you get to see inside of ConnectWise. You pull up an invoice in ConnectWise, it has 12 lines. You pull up that same invoice inside Sage Intacct, it has 12 lines. You map the data fields, you bring all the information across, everything looks exactly the same between the two systems. Accounts receivable, you would get a more summarized AR invoice. $1,500, $1,500. Really depends on what you want to do and how much information you need in the accounting system. So for example, here, the process flow would be, you've got a service ticket. Someone calls up and says, my PC, my monitor won't come on. I think I need a replacement monitor, or somebody needs to come out and take a look at it. You go out, you take a look at it, monitor is broke, okay, got to get a new one, order the new one, or hey, we've got a new one, we're going to put it in for you, and here's our trip charge, here's the cost of the monitor. All of that gets keyed into the system, their time, mileage, all of those things keyed into ConnectWise. The service ticket's marked complete, ready for billing. An invoice gets generated. That invoice is reviewed. Everything looks good with it. Invoice gets emailed out to the client, and then that invoice gets integrated over into Dynamics or Sage Intacct. That is a out of the box flow. We have had some customers do things a little bit differently. They've said, once we email it, then boom, push it into the accounting system. We've had some customers that say, it's nice, it's been emailed, it's been printed, but I still want to double check before we push it over into the accounting system. So we work with them based on invoice statuses. When is this invoice ready to go over to the system? One thing to note, we do have cash receipts that get sent back to ConnectWise. So if you receive cash in Sage Intacct, we can reflect that back over into ConnectWise as well. And not only can we reflect that, but again, here's one of the differences. We can reflect that in detailed payment information. So not just saying that a customer has paid you $500 as of this date, but a customer made a $200 payment on this date, a $246 payment on this date, and a $44 payment on this date, or maybe a $44 credit memo was issued on this date for the remainder, 54, I guess. not the best math skills at the moment, but you get the picture. We'd show multiple different payments, credit memos, whatever it takes to offset that invoice. We'd show that inside ConnectWise, which would then be reflected in the portal so that your customer could go look and see, yeah, there's the payment I sent, there's the payment I sent, there's the credit they issued, this invoice is paid in full. And we do full customer sync. So all customers in both systems, all invoices are in both systems, detailed or summary, your choice. And then all payments are in both systems as well. And we do something very similar for the procurement process. So, your POs can be issued in ConnectWise. You've got a choice of whether we create the PO in the accounting system or not at that point. If you do or if you don't, then in ConnectWise, you move to that next step of receiving the goods. And then in either system at that point, after the goods are received, we push the information over into the accounting system of choice so that when you log into Sage Intacct or Dynamics GP, you can then do the intermatch process and complete the transaction inside the accounting system. And we've got the ability to write back any necessary information as well. If we want to write back the vendor's invoice number, any of those types of things, whatever you feel is needed, we can generally take care of that for you. Okay. All right. So all of that being said, let's get down to something that's really cool. And I am going to jump out of the, whoops, too far. I'm going to jump out of the demo here, or the PowerPoints, if I can. There we go. Didn't want to respond. So I'm going to go over to a browser window. Now, we have two flavors of mConnect. We have an on-premise version of mConnect, and we have a cloud version of mConnect. We created mConnect way back in 2007 when I purchased ConnectWise to use for Massey Consulting internally. We were on Dynamics GP at the time. There was no real integration with Dynamics GP. I knew I had to create one. I really liked the ConnectWise system. So I said, I'm going to create one. And we are partners still to this day, were at that point, are still today with Scribe Software, now known as Tibco Scribe. So I took the Scribe Insight on-premise solution and created an integration. It pulls the data from ConnectWise, pushes it over into, at that point, Dynamics GP, and then returns any necessary data back to ConnectWise, as we've kind of gone through already. So we use Scribe as a middleware platform. Scribe now has a cloud-based version of their software called Scribe Online, which is what you're looking at here. And that allows us to work with products like Sage Intacct, which is a fully cloud-based solution. So you would have your ConnectWise, you'd have the integration mConnect in between, that would be in the cloud, and you would have your Sage Intacct product that would be in the cloud as well. Now, for those that run Dynamics GP, we also now work with and have a little bit of a preference for the Smart Connect product from E1 Solutions. So we can now do multiple different types of integrations with multiple different types of middleware systems to really give you a lot of flexibility and a lot of control over how you integrate your data with your accounting system. Okay. So let's take a look at what you're able to do in the online environment, which is 100% similar to what you're able to do in an on-premise environment. Now, in this particular scenario, we are looking at data in ConnectWise, and we're looking at data going into Sage Intacct. Again, very similar, if not 100% the same. Doesn't matter about the accounting solution. All it really matters is that we can get a good understanding of what you need and where it's coming from and where it's going. Okay. So the way that our integration works is you build all of your different maps. a data map, and we have a template that we start with that covers all those things that I listed in the beginning: invoices, customers, vendors, expenses, procurement. All of those things are covered out of the box with our standard integration. But what's nice about, and the reason we chose the middleware route rather than doing some kind of custom development, is that we can then pull those into the interface that you see here, and we can teach you how to use this interface, so that in the future, if you need to make a change to the way companies are coming across to customers, you have full knowledge and full capability for how to make that change between the two systems. Okay. I do believe, okay, we do have a couple of questions. All right, I see those. I'll come back to those. I do see those questions. We'll come back to those. So do have the ability here. What I've got is a few different maps, and you'll notice that each of these maps accomplishes a different thing. And we do that so that we can map each of those different components, but also schedule each of those different components. Like I said, you may only want to bring over expense reports on a daily basis because you don't have that many of them, but you may be issuing invoices multiple times a day. So you want to synchronize your invoices every hour, every 2 hours, real time, whatever it is. But expense reports, maybe you want to do that at 7 a.m. every day, 10 a.m. every day, something of that nature. Okay? That is pretty common. You also may want to synchronize customers every 2 hours, but you may want to do vendors once a day. You may want to synchronize customers as you're doing your invoices, right? So you can tie things together like that. You can say, only create a customer when they have their first invoice, but then let's just make sure we've got up-to-date data. So let's update our customers when we have an invoice too. Or you may say, no, let's let accounting drive the customer after they've been created. So then if there's changes, we push that back over to ConnectWise, right? So a lot of ways that you can control this. So I'm going to dive in here to one of these data maps. Let's look at companies to customers. Now, this may look a little bit intimidating, but keep in mind that that's what we're here for. We're here to show you how this works. We're here to help you with it if you need it. Now, also, if you don't want to know and you just want it to work, we're perfectly okay with that as well. We're going to work at whatever need level you have and whatever need you want us to fulfill. Okay. So we have our query up here where we're going through and we're picking the data. All right. We're going through and saying we only want customers of this type. We only want customers in this market. We only want customers that have a value in the account number field. Those kinds of things. You tell us what makes a customer and when they should be sent over into the system. Like I said, maybe you only want to create new customers when they have their first order. After that, maybe that runs every time you have orders, which runs every hour. And then after that, maybe you want to do updates to the customers twice a day, once a day. Multiple different integrations, multiple different touch points, lots of ways of doing all this. So we have our query. Again, you control that query, what you want to bring in, full control over what comes over as a customer. Then we're going to do a lookup. We're going to check, see if that customer exists. That's how we do our updates. If they exist, we're going to update them. If not, we're going to create them. And I'm going to jump into here really quickly. And I want to show you this field screen. So here's where the proof is that you have absolute control over every piece of this data map. What we simply do is we find the fields that we're looking for to map. And if we want here, for example, with this contact print as, and I'm going to just grab company name and I'm going to drag it over here. So it's a drag and drop situation, but it's also a formula situation. So if I want to pull up the formula editor, I've got all types of conversion competencies here. I can use different types of functions to be able to add, subtract, convert, if-thens, case statements, choosing, all of those kinds of things. I've got tons and tons of functionality here for what I can do with my data to transform it, should that data need to be transformed. But at its heart, again, I am just quite simply grabbing fields and I'm bringing them over and I'm dragging and dropping them, right? Okay. Now, this does work with, let's say, custom fields. If you want to create a custom field in Sage Intacct, for example, on the customer record to track the market, to track the territory, to track the website URL, the status, any of these fields, we will have access to those custom fields as well. So again, this can be really tailored to your environment to work the way that you need it to work. You're not having to succumb to what the integration can do for you. It's the other way around, right? So as you can see here, we've got companies to customers, contacts to contacts, but I will also note that because you are in a middleware platform like a Scribe or a Smart Connect, of course, you have other options here as well. So when we talk about even maybe bringing some data into ConnectWise or bringing additional data into Dynamics or Sage Intacct, you'll have that ability too. So what we've got here just in this example is a Paychex integration. So you get a file from Paychex for your payroll. You can create a map for that too and have that bring it in so that our tool is really a facilitator for a ConnectWise connection, but it can be so much more. We have customers where we have connected ConnectWise to Salesforce. We have connected ConnectWise to Dynamics CRM, right? Maybe you want to manage your prospects in Salesforce or Dynamics CRM and then push that data over into the ConnectWise solution, right? So a lot of capabilities, a lot of possibilities there. And really the integration tool drives a lot of that capability. Okay? So a lot of things we could talk about, a lot of things that could be done there. But suffice it to say, the solution is fully customizable, gives you all of the abilities that you would really want and need within an environment to be able to tailor the integration to suit your needs. Right, so a couple more things. You've got the ability, again, to send payment details from Dynamics or Intacct back to ConnectWise. So when your customers look in their portal, they're not seeing a summarized $526 payment. They're seeing multiple payments and a credit memo that make up that amount. Supplement collection efforts with statements and other functions in your accounting system. Because we have the ability to bring over details into your accounting system, you can then utilize the full capabilities of Dynamics or Sage Intacct to help you with the collections process. See the full invoice details, right? Full details, who worked on it, when they worked on it, what was their comment, how many hours, what day was it that they worked on it. And you can also synchronize with Salesforce or Dynamics CRM, as I mentioned, and also Sugar CRM. I should add that to the slide deck here, but multiple different synchronization options. So some of the more creative things that we've done, we've synchronized data from multiple ConnectWise instances into one accounting instance. So taking multiple different ConnectWise servers and push the data into one accounting system. We've also taken data from one ConnectWise instance and pushed it into multiple different Dynamics instances. You tell us what data you need to separate or what data you need to bring together, and we make that part of our program. Integrate your inventory with the ERP and use barcode scanners or a WMS type system. So we've got companies where we're doing a more detailed inventory synchronization, say with Dynamics GP, and they are using a full-blown WMS system to manage multi-bins and all the other aspects of their environment, barcode scanners to pull products and all of that. And then configure your geo postings using any fields in ConnectWise. It's another big reason we get pulled in, is because we have certain companies that want more flexibility than what ConnectWise offers in their geo postings. And we're able to take literally any field in ConnectWise and use that as a means to distinguish what GL accounts you post to. So mConnect pricing, probably the question that's on everyone's lips. It's a little bit different depending upon whether you use the on-premise version of the integration versus the cloud. But in general, it's going to be about $5,000 for the software and $4,000 plus for the implementation. That is very dependent upon how many customizations you need from our standard template. When we talk about WMS systems and things like that, then you're looking at a implementation that's probably in the 15 to 20,000 range. But if you've got huge inventory needs, that's going to be indispensable for you, right? We've got on-premise or cloud versions, and there are no entity limits and no transactional limits either. So we're not going to run a meter on you for anything that you do. As long as we can push that data back and forth between the two systems, you're good to go. Okay. So a couple of questions that we've heard, and then I'll jump into the ones that were posted. Can you really customize our integration? Absolutely. It's kind of a softball. We can take, for example, the market in ConnectWise, and we can push that into the customer group in Sage Intacct or Dynamics GP. And then that way you can do your reporting based on a group of customers. One simple thing that we can do, but we have full control over this integration and how the data passes back and forth between the two systems. How long is the implementation process? That is, again, kind of up to you. It's kind of like the pricing of the implementation. I would say a minimum of 4 weeks. We've had them take as long as a few months, and those are the WMS systems with full inventory management and barcoding and all of that. But if that's what you need, that's what you need. And the good news is we can do it for you. Will all my data be saved? Absolutely. Saved, synchronized, we can pass back and forth any data that you're looking for with this. And it is indeed a two-way synchronization. So we've got the ability to push updates back, for example, from the accounting system back into ConnectWise. Now, we do still consider ConnectWise to be the master system, the driving system in this process. So if you're working with prospects, you're going to work with those inside of ConnectWise, or maybe you're going to work with them in Salesforce or something like that. But ConnectWise is going to be the one that drives the invoices, all right? Going to be the one that drives the processes, the procurement, all of that, and we're going to push that into GP. We've made some exceptions from an inventory standpoint, but we generally like ConnectWise to be the driver. But it is indeed a two-way integration between the two systems. Okay, all right, and that is it. So let me go back over here and see if I can find those questions. Let's see, ERA CW sends to GP. Rounding up will extend the cost on POs and extended transfers when information's wrong in GP. So yes, and that is something that we've heard. It's a very specific question, but one was posted that says that they are having some rounding issues with the integration. And that is something that is fairly common with the way that ConnectWise does their integration. And that also is one of the reasons why some companies will come to us for our integration. We don't experience that issue. We have ways to work through that and work around it. So that is absolutely something that we can help fix for you and properly. This one has to do with company credit cards and expenses and multiple company credit cards being mapped over to GP. I'd have to talk with you about that. There probably are some things that we could do for you. Again, we have a fully customizable process, so I'd want to see how you're handling company credit cards. I'd want to see what you want to have over in the accounting system environment and what you're doing in ConnectWise. But there's possibilities there. We do and can work in regards to expenses and company as well as personal credit cards for reimbursements in that process. So please reach out outside of this webinar, and I'd be happy to discuss that for you. It sounds like we've got a couple things that we can help with in your environment. So I appreciate those questions very much. Thank you. And Yelena, I don't see any other questions coming through, and I believe we're at a stopping point.
Yeah, I don't see any either. Thanks, Philip. And like I said before we got started, a copy of these slides and the recorded webinar will be sent to everybody within 24 hours. And then, either we can follow up with you all or please reach out if you have any other questions. But again, thanks everybody for joining us, and we hope this was really helpful.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, thanks. Bye.